Off at the front desk, if you would, please.
Well, we're going to start out. We're going to let our host, Roger Blanchard, start out with what the Sierra Club has done with Advocacy and what you've done personally.
Yeah, personally what I'm going to do is talk about the Bike Friendly Sioux Group. I consider it a subsidiary of the Three Lakes Group. It was started basically back in late 2016. Emily Weber, some of you may know her. Ken Miller and I first met probably in December of 2016 to talk about getting a group together to promote biking in Sault Ste. Marie. And our objective is to make Sault Ste. Marie a bicycle-friendly community. That's a designation through the League of American Bicyclists. Ken dropped out soon after we started in December, January, and Wayne Berry took over. And so to a large extent it's been me, Emily, and Wayne Berry that have been working hard at meeting with representatives of the city and MDOT. In the last certainly 6 months we've met with MDOT. And I personally found that to be a very frustrating endeavor to meet with them. They basically have two concerns: motor vehicles and speed. Bicycles, pedestrians are not something that they really are too interested in. I will say that we've met with the city manager, city engineer. We've met with the city manager multiple times, and he is gung-ho on making Sault Ste. Marie a bicycle-friendly community. When we met with MDOT, my biggest concern has always been the I-75 spur, and virtually nothing can be done in regards to biking and pedestrians. Over the last year or two, I've talked to a lot of people in the Sioux about for instance, putting a light in at the entrance to Walmart. And virtually everybody I've talked to said there should be a light at the entrance to Walmart. MDOT will never put a light there because it will slow traffic down. So that's the general attitude of MDOT. When we did meet with MDOT, I asked about Portage Avenue, East Portage Avenue, as a possibility for bike lanes. And they were receptive to that idea. And they talked about doing something maybe this year. As it turns out, the city has to contact all the residents along East Portage and make sure that they are okay with it. But the last time we met with the city manager, he and the city engineer are going to assess East Portage during the winter time and see if it's feasible. One of the things I had suggested in our last meeting was to put a protected bike lanes on the north side of the road. There are very few driveways on the north side, and it's pretty wide. There's only like two residences on the north side, and so very few people park on the north side. So from my perspective, that would be the best place for a bike lane. Now at this point we do have a bike lane out here. The lines were painted in the last week or so, so that's a start. And we've talked with the Downtown Development Authority Director about putting bike lanes downtown on Ashman. MDOT has to approve that, so I don't know how that will go, but there is enough space there. We have several other roads that would be feasible to put bike lanes on. In certain instances, we may have to wait until they resurface the road and conceivably widen the road to make bike lanes, make enough space for bike lanes. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that over the last 6 months, we have met multiple times with various city officials and MDOT, and the city officials seem to be very receptive to the idea, and hopefully the city residents will be receptive as well. One thing that we have done in the last 6 months is we have developed a bike route guide for Sault Ste. Marie, and there are booklets out on the table out in the hallway. And in probably the next few months, we'll have a bike route guide for the Eastern UP. So from my perspective, the Eastern UP is a great place to bicycle. It's cool. There's not that much traffic. Many of the roads have paved shoulders, and it's fairly scenic. So we're trying to promote that as much as possible. Yeah.
It may not have good water, but it does have good bike layout for the city. I mean, Flint is bike friendly.
Yeah. Flint actually is a bicycle-friendly community. I don't know if you knew that.
Only by all the pavement. I know, no, I didn't know it officially. The bike lanes everywhere.
Yeah, one thing I should add, the bicycle-friendly community status is given by the League of American Bicyclists, and they have 5 categories, starting with bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and diamond. So I think in 2 to 4 years we can get bronze status for Sault Ste. Marie and then progressively move up. Another thing I'll say is that Houghton and Marquette have silver status. So they're probably a good 10 to 15 years ahead of us right now. So we got to catch up. With that, I'll let
Okay, so, thanks, Roger. One of the things we wanted to do is, because today we got a lot of information, and we took in things that have information that is largely underneath the radar around the community. You don't see it in a lot of different places. These are long stories. People will talk to you about years of doing work and knowledge. One of the things that a couple of people would now like to talk about is they've taken knowledge they have about an experience around here, and they've turned it into part of their lives. Roger just talked about the bike paths, because this is something that he became impassioned about and understood because he lives on his bike. And he's taken it from knowledge to activism. So now we'd like to talk to a couple more people about how they moved from knowledge to activism. Carol, you want to? So this is Carol Ward. Carol Ward, besides being a neighbor, has been doing a lot of things with the Forest Service and with the State Forest. And she just wants to talk for just a minute about the kind of work that she's done and why it's been satisfying. And then Phil, you.
Probably a lot of you are very shaped with what you like to do now and who you are by what happened in childhood. And I grew up in Detroit. And I can still remember those huge, lovely elm trees that were there. Mm-hmm. And I can remember the little seeds coming in. And I thought, from that to this. So trees have always fascinated me. When I was a child, sometimes we would go to lower Michigan for a vacation. A couple of times we came up to the UP. And of course, then we had the ferry. We'd drive onto the car ferry and get off in St. Ignace. When I was 17, a senior Girl Scout troop came up to go to Taquama on the Falls. There was all a gravel road back in there. There were no buildings, there was nothing. And I can still remember all these trees, these huge trees, the fragrance of the trees. And that is state forest up there. And I thought, this belongs to the state, it belongs to me. So in 1988, I was fortunate enough to be able to move up here. And before that, my husband and I had purchased some property with Lake Superior on one side and the forest on the other. So the forest has always been very, very close to me. At that time, they were finalizing the 1986 forest plan. I was still getting the evening news. I think at that time I hadn't built a house up there. I was living in Northern. And I noticed something about hearings, the Forest Service, on the plan. So I got in on that. And the more knowledge I got about this forest, and we have the west and the east, we have almost 1 million acres. There's 900,000 and some acres. And sometimes I even find myself just driving through it. But this is our forest. All of this belongs to us. And it's open to us. So anyways, the forest plan was devised. At that time, there were some things that had to be settled. So between the Sierra Club and the forest products industry, a group called the Friends of Hiawatha had started. And they had settled some disputes about land use within the Forest Service. And so I went to these meetings. They are in the spring and the fall, still go to them. You have the people, the resource people on one side. Oh, we're not really not on one side. We all use it. We all have a stake in it. You have the people for recreation, the hiking people, winter, and of course, the conservationists, but we all realize we have to work together on this forest. So what happened next was in 2006, the new forest plan came out. 1986 was the first forest plan they had for this area. I had never gone back to see how the heck they managed it and what they did. So the 2006 forest plan is not really too different from the 1986. The same general format, but differences. Probably a lot of learning about what the people wanted in the forest, and of course the needs of the forest have changed. We don't have so many people out there supporting, or the forest products industry supporting them. So I look at this a lot because I comment on all these things. If you get on, you click on Hiawatha National Forest, and you'll come down to, scroll down on the left side, you get to 2006 Forest Plan, and then you can keep going down, and you'll get to SOPA, S-O-P-A, Schedule of Proposed Actions. This comes out quarterly. It will tell you what actions are planned in the east and west Hiawatha. It tells you what specific person in the Forest Service office to contact and how to comment. So when you start looking for this darn thing, and you realize what you can do and how carefully a lot of this is planted, you get some ideas. And you say, well, I don't like that. Well, maybe there is something you don't like about it. But years ago when I asked Anne Marley, I said, how do I comment on this? She says, just ask them to obey their own rules. That's it. If you tell them, well, I really don't like this, okay, what rule is that trespassing? So just ask them to obey their own rules. And when you go through the projects that are outlined in the schedule of proposed actions, you'll say, that doesn't quite fit into this area for that purpose. And so then that's the first document that comes out after the SOVA is a scoping document. It'll tell you just about what they want to do for that project. You comment on it, and then you get to comment later. But there's plenty of time to comment. It's not like working with the DNR. They don't have these rules, the protections that the Forest Service has. So even if you say, I don't want to get involved in Forest Service stuff, that isn't what I'm really interested in. Forest Service is the thing I'm interested in. I've tried other things, voluntary, because they should be done. And after a while, I think, I'm not happy doing this. So if forestry is what you're interested in, go online, get the information about the plan, where to get it, There is a copy at Bayless, otherwise you can get it online. And then start going to meetings. There's a Friends meeting next Friday, and it's in Curtis at the Erickson Center from 9 until 3:30. Usually the format is the introduction by our supervisor out of, is it
Gladstone.
Gladstone. And she's a very informative person who will give you a lot of good information right away. I enjoy listening to her. Then there's a round table where everybody can get to talk about what's going on in the Three Lakes group. I would represent the Three Lakes group. What's going on with so-and-so timber company? What's going on with the Oriented Strand Board that has existed for so many years in Newberry? Where's the wood coming from, more or less, to get a picture of everybody. Of course, the snowmobilers are there, and everybody that uses the forest. So it's a great way to find what the forest is to all these people and to get to know them. In the afternoon, there's usually a field trip of some kind, into some project that's going on, or something that has a general interest. And you bring a bag lunch, everybody just sits around and eating before we leave. I asked for an agenda for the meeting, and I don't think it's set up yet. But one thing I do know is that you had to RSVP for the meeting. So I called and I told them about this meeting, and I said that we can't RSVP those people. They said, please, open it up. Tell them to come. You don't need one. So that's what I'm telling you. If you want to get more details, as many details as possible on the meeting, I'd suggest to go to Hiawatha National Forest and Friends. Now, as far as the DNR is concerned, on September 19th, for Marquette and Alger counties at the Marquette Township Community Center from 3 to 6, they are going to have an open house showing with all the maps and things that are planned in those counties in the state forest for next year. Also, they're going to be working on the ecological reference areas. Those are areas that should possibly be set aside, really not set aside, but should have special consideration when they're considering cutting or any kind of management, because they're special. They have some special qualities that should be retained. And so all that is going to take place on the Marquette Alger Marquette Township Community Center. Then, on October 10th, there is a meeting at Newberry Field Office that's just up when you go to 28 and then you turn right. There's a Newberry DNR Field Office from 3 to 6. They will show the plans that they have for Luce and Chippewa County for next year. You'll get to see them. They'll explain anything you want. And then later there is what's called a compartment review. They don't publish it, but it is open to the public. It has to be open. At which their staff will be getting together and discussing all this. I have been to them and they're interesting, but I don't find that they are really serious about public input. But I think that if you're interested at all in forest issues, the first thing you should do is get the SOPA, the Schedule Proposed Actions, and find out what's going on. I still just when you walk out one side of my house and get into the forest, it's still a very magical place to me. It's still, I wonder, that wonderful fragrance, balsam and cedar. And I'm just very fortunate to be able to live there. But I just want everybody to realize how great the forest is. Get out of the car, walk through it, ride a bike through it, and enjoy it. And the blueberries were great this year. Absolutely super. So anyways, a word for the forest.
Thank you.
Any questions? Okay.
Okay, if anybody doesn't know Philadelphia, they obviously don't live here. Bill's going to talk about a very important problem that we're having south of here.
Well, the idea apparently is what happened to my background that made me become an advocate for the environment. Well, I grew up in Livonia, right next to each other. But my father was wise enough to put us out into the woods. At the end of my street, before it was developed, was woods. Across the street was woods. That's where we couldn't hang around the house after school. Get out of the house. So that's what we did. We were in the woods, and then every vacation we took was at Interlochen State Park. So we were very much in tune with the natural world, and I'm absolutely certain it's because of our native heritage. We have roots. Our tribe is the White Earth Band, and we're up in Minnesota. And this is who we are as Native people. We are charged with maintaining and even improving, if we can, the sustainability of the environment for the next 7 generations. That's what we are here for on this planet. So I grew up in the Detroit area, went into the military during the Vietnam War, got out. The city literally drove me crazy. I'm not making that up. Drove me crazy. The doctor said, well, I can give you harder drugs or you can move. It's your choice. And when I was in the military, I saved up enough money, and this was back in the Vietnam War days. Everybody was thinking about Canada. So I had 160 acres across the river. So I figured I could take my GI Bill anywhere. So I quit down there. I came here to Lake State in 1970. And we got involved in all kinds of environmental things. This is after the war, of course, we were involved in anti-war stuff. Part of a group that had our slogan is keep the UP nuke free. We won that one. We were opposed to ELF. Anybody remember ELF? We were fighting on that front. More locally, when the Air Force Base closed, they wanted to install a toxic waste incinerator. We stopped that. And who was it? I guess it was the USDA. They wanted to take that lime pile, it was part of the Union Carbide waste dump, and spread it all over the county because of acid rain and acidified the soil. And we said, no, you can't do that. So we were successful in those. But in those days, this was like the mid-70s, the fights were more or less local and they were very small. But then we move into this era now, and we're fighting, right now, we're fighting Enbridge. A multinational, multi-billion-dollar company with deep roots, including having our former governor, Jimmy Blanchard, sitting on their board of directors. You can imagine that. So we're in a very, very serious struggle. It's not only Enbridge with Line 5, it's global warming generally, and our reliance on fossil fuels is destroying the planet. So not only my perspective, of course, but the perspective of very, very large numbers of people are opposed to many things. The Dakota Access Pipeline, Keystone XL, etc. I ran for the state senate. 37th state senate district is the only district that has Line 5 in it. I announced my candidacy Earth Day 2014 with the slogan, double wall or not at all. I didn't win that race. I did have the Sierra Club endorsement though, I'm happy to say. 2014, I ran for state representative. 107th district is the only district in the state of Michigan that has line 5 within its boundaries. So I announced my candidacy on Earth Day 2016. And I dropped the double wall stuff, which is not at all. We want to stop line 5, stop the flow of oil. I didn't win that race either. So on Earth Day 2017, I announced my latest campaign, the one I'm involved with right now. That is, Keep Our Lakes Great ballot initiative to stop the flow of oil in Line 5 and to prevent any other oil pipeline from being constructed in the state of Michigan's Great Lakes waters, including Lake St. Clair, the Great Lakes and the connecting waters. So that's what I'm involved with right now. It may be my last campaign. I'm over 70 years old now. I'm a recovering academic. I might want to actually retire at some point. So we have petitions in these little envelopes. Has our address on it. Talking about advocacy. This is our advocacy for the environment. Those of you who were in this room earlier today when Eric Paymont was talking about Line 5 and the desolation that we do not only to tribal fisheries but to our entire way of life here in northern Michigan. So if you want to become an advocate, this is the best way and easiest way to do it. There's 3 petitions in each envelope. It's got the return address on it. There's a little slip in there how to contact me, how to fill out, make sure that people fill out the forms properly. Put 1 stamp on it and send it back to the headquarters down in East Lansing. And we hope to put this issue on the ballot. We would love for Bill Schuette and or Governor Snyder to come out Monday morning and say, we're shutting off the flow of oil on Line 5. They have the legal authority, and I would say the moral responsibility to do that. That would be wonderful. But when we were discussing this ballot initiative, we were hearing all the talk coming from hundreds of different places. And we said, we're tired of talking. We want to do something. We may not get on the ballot because we may not collect the signatures, but we're not going to sit around anymore. We want to do something. So you in this room can do something. Take this ballot home with you. And I have probably 100 of these envelopes. And I would hope that everybody would become an advocate for the environment, for the Great Lakes, for the Straits of Mackinac, and all these other wonderful places in which we live. So, hope I didn't use up more of my 10 minutes. Thanks. We have a petition. It has to be every county is separate, so we have enough for every county. So if anybody's a registered voter in Michigan, sign it. Take one of these with you home.
Okay, thank you, Bill. All right, I'm from the Peninsula Environmental Coalition, and in theory, we're supposed to cover the entire UP. In practice, you know, it takes quite a while to go from one end to the other, and north-south is only about half the time. But the problem we have is that we're trying to cover too much territory with too few people. And so we need to find a way to either partner up or say local issues. For example, the latest thing that's happened is there's a Save the Menominee River Coalition that's just come together this year actually, and they are running in a campaign in the Menominee and Marinette area trying to get the whole thing to stop in terms of the Keelovac 40 mine. We have about four mining projects going right now. One is the Aquila, one is Greymont, which is this is the eastern end here. You have the Eagle mine, which is also trying to create a second mine without creating a new permit. And then we have Highland Copper Company that looks like it's going to start coming online in the next couple of years. They're the ones that are going to be drilling under the Porkies. So we have all these things, plus Lundin, which owns Eagle and Highland, have both bought up the Rio Tinto leases for the area north on the north end of the UP. So the whole problem is prices are rising for metals again. All this stuff about solar and wind and electric vehicles is creating more demand for copper and rare earth minerals and gold. So in a sense, what's happening is we're suffering from the success of the solar and the wind power and proposed electric vehicles, because one windmill will take about 240 pounds of copper. So you start multiplying that, you begin to see the dynamics of it. So in a sense, we're destroying the environment in order to save it. And that's the real problem we're having. Just like Phil was passionate about the Line 5 problem. We're getting the oil, but yet it's the safest way that they say to carry the product. But the point is, it still can destroy us. So we're always in this dilemma. How do we get around it? And so basically, what UPEC has is we had a separate organization, Save the Wild UP. You may have heard of it. They merged with us. So they're the Mining Action Group. They're basically taking on the 4 mining issues that are going on here. And we're trying to do it by affecting the DEQ. And they are, I gotta put it, they're bastards to deal with when it comes to mining and comes to water. Every one of those mines affects a different set of watersheds. So as they come online and they're treating the water, they're not treating this water in a way that it goes back the way it came in. They're treating water, it comes out pretty good, they'll dump it in. So the whole problem is we taxpayers through the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative have paid $41 million to clean up the Menominee, Michigan harbor. Now, up there near Stevenson, they want to put this mine in right next to the river, 150 feet away, open pit mine, 850 feet deep. So you can imagine how much pumping you're going to have to do, because there's a lot of wetlands around there. So this is the kind of thing we're fighting. We're trying to work with organizations that are doing it. There's the Front 40 that Ron Hendrickson, if you know him, has been active with for about 13 years. And this new organization that I mentioned earlier is now doing it. But we are trying to persuade the DEQ's mining people that we need to have a way of them following their own rules. They won't do it. They will say, well, we'll read the comments. They don't read the comments. We're going to follow the rules. They don't follow the rules. So our only tool is to keep on bugging them and letting them know we're there, we're watching. It helps in a way to delay the onset of the mining. But the main thing I'm finding out is that we need to keep on talking to people. We need to talk to our legislators, going down to Lansing next month for legislative breakfast to see if I can talk some of these guys into making sure they support the Great Lakes funding for next year. And so I keep going like this. What do we need? Well, we need people who are willing to do the nitty-gritty of going through these applications for mining and helping us write comments to be able to say, you're wrong in this area, the company's lying here, and so on and on it goes. So we need that. The other thing is the opposition, as you know, is basically taking over a part of the federal government, which affects our lives, which is the EPA. And the other problem is there's a state-by-state attempt to take over of legislators into the local and county government areas. So it's this gradual way of taking over. So in a sense, we're going back to pre-1890 eras where nobody except those who controlled the communities had the power. So we're trying to get people involved. It's a difficult job. It's something that nobody really wants to do, but if we don't do it, who will? That's basically what it is. So I'm trying to make sure that we can get every area covered in this area, in the UP. And we're very happy with the work that's been done by the Sioux AOC to improve the value of the community to people. We know that the state's willing to spend money on tourism, advertising. It's not willing to do anything to stop the companies from mining. Remember, we still haven't solved all the old problems. Now the new set of problems are coming in. Technology is supposed to save us, but we know the technology and the people who run it are fallible. So let's think about what we can do in each way. What can we do? Well, we can sign those petitions that come around. We can go out and get, the line 5, the gerrymandering. So there's always something that you can do in a way that doesn't take much time. The nitty-gritty stuff, which is more technical, and if you really love detail, you love doing work with mining permits. And right, Steve? Anyway, so the last thing I want to mention is we have this information campaign that the opposition has very effectively controlled. My thought is we need to get people with IT and social media background involved, and we need to start our own campaign to fight back, to do the same thing they're doing, which is to raise doubt about their questions about climate warming. For example, I say the science in climate denial is as real as the science in science fiction. And if you have ever read science fiction, there's not a hell of a lot of science in it. It's all fiction. And so those are the kinds of things you want to get out there and start people thinking that maybe the way we are going is not going to be the way that's going to save us from the future problems. So that's all I have, and because I want to keep you from these activities, which I think are very important and help you work off those calories that you put on during lunch. And so anyway, are there any questions? Okay, I've overwhelmed you. Very good. Thank you very much.